record-setting scorer and one of the game's premier facilitators, makes her third all-star appearance from the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark! This Dallas...
They literally were booed.
Listen closely to that reaction, because those boos may be the clearest warning yet that something around Caitlin Clark has changed.
Say about Olivia Miles, okay? Asia Wilson has high praise for Olivia Miles. This is what she had to say. Asia Wilson said, you're a star, for real. You're a star. You're going to have a really good career in this league. Now, I don't remember Asia Wilson ever saying anything.
Anja Wilson looked Olivia Miles in the face and told her, "You're a star for real. You're going to have a really good career in this league." On its own, that is a positive moment. A veteran superstar encouraging a younger player should be celebrated. The controversy begins with the contrast. Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA with record-breaking attention, historic expectations, sold-out arenas, and pressure unlike almost any rookie before her. Yet many of her supporters believe she was never publicly welcomed with that same warmth by the league's biggest established names. That difference is what people are reacting to. It is not that Olivia Miles should receive less praise. It is that fans are asking why encouragement appears so easy for certain young stars, and so complicated whenever Clark is involved. And the part that should actually concern the WNBA comes later, because the applause for one player is not the biggest issue here. The bigger issue is how a league that benefited enormously from Clark's popularity somehow allowed the atmosphere around her to become
Now, I don't remember Asia Wilson ever saying anything like this to Caitlin Clark. I remember Asia Wilson being jealous and butthurt that Caitlin Clark's shoes was going to come out. I just remember her being jealous and butthurt about Caitlin Clark's sneakers and going on a whole victim campaign, crying her way for some sneakers to come out. I remember that. I don't remember Asia Wilson welcoming Caitlin with these open arms like she's doing with Olivia and like she did with Paige.
The original commentary describes Wilson as jealous and claims she never welcomed Clark with open arms. That is an interpretation, not a proven fact, and it is important to separate emotional commentary from what can actually be established. Wilson has faced questions about Clark, shoe deals, media attention, and the way the league promotes different players. Fans have then taken individual comments, facial expressions, and moments of silence and assembled them into a larger story about resentment. Some of that interpretation may be unfair. Established stars are not required to publicly validate every rookie. Wilson has her own career, her own accomplishments, and her own responsibilities. She should not be reduced to a supporting character in somebody else's rise. But public perception does not wait for perfect evidence. Perception is formed by visible moments. When fans repeatedly see warmth directed toward Paige Buchers or Olivia Miles, while remembering colder or more complicated interactions involving Clark, the contrast becomes its own story. That story is now bigger than one quote. It has become a test of whether the WNBA can celebrate multiple stars without making its audience feel as though one player must be diminished to elevate another.
Like, it's just so crazy how the person who's brought so much to the league right away, like that, gets no love, no praise, just hated for absolutely nothing from day one. I mean, Caitlin Clark was getting hated on from day one. They've done everything they can to turn fans against her. So much so, Caitlin Clark is being booed in the intros now.
This is where the argument becomes more serious. Clark supporters believe she delivered extraordinary value immediately and received hostility in return. The phrase "hated from day one" is emotional, but it reflects a genuine feeling among a large section of the audience. They remember the hard fouls, the dismissive interviews, the debates about whether her popularity was deserved, and the constant attempts to explain her success through everything except her basketball. Every major athlete receives criticism. Clark is not entitled to universal praise, and her fans should not treat every disagreement as an attack. But the volume surrounding her has always been different. A normal turnover becomes a referendum on whether she is overrated. A strong performance becomes a debate about her teammates. An injury becomes an argument about ratings, race, politics, or the future of the entire league. That is an impossible environment for any player. It also creates a dangerous incentive for commentators, players, and media outlets. The easiest way to get attention becomes saying something provocative about Clark, whether the statement is supportive or hostile. The league gained a massive audience, but it also inherited a non-stop culture war. Instead of controlling that tension, the WNBA often appears to be consumed by it.
They literally were booing, bro. How dare y'all boo the GOAT? Y'all have lost y'all mind, man. Y'all been brainwashed That's horrible job Kathy Engelbert's done. Y'all been brainwashed by these haters in the WNBA that are jealous. Y'all have been brainwashed into hating this girl who has done nothing to nobody. All she want to do, unlike majority of these other players, all she want to do is play basketball. All she want to do is play basketball.
The speaker calls Clark the GOAT and accuses fans of being brainwashed. That language is obviously partisan. Still, his frustration points toward a real communication failure. Clark has generally presented herself publicly as someone focused on basketball. She rarely responds aggressively to players, rarely feeds personal disputes, and usually redirects controversial questions back toward the game. Yet she is frequently held responsible for the behavior of people she does not know. A random account sends an abusive message, and suddenly Clark is asked to answer for an entire fan base. Somebody makes a political claim using her name, and she is expected to clarify a position she never introduced. A commentator insults another player while defending Clark, and critics treat that as evidence against Clark herself. That standard is impossible. No athlete controls every person who buys a ticket, follows an account, or posts under a highlight. The fair position is simple. Threats, harassment, and racism should be condemned regardless of the target. Clark can say that clearly, and she has no obligation to accept collective guilt for every stranger who claims to support her. Once a league begins confusing the athlete with the loudest part of her audience, the athlete becomes trapped. Speaking constantly gives every controversy more oxygen. Remaining quiet gets presented as approval. There is no winning move.
And y'all booing her, and like people are turning against her over stuff that don't have nothing to do with her. Random dude who's not even a Caitlin Clark or an Indiana Fever fan messages Chelsea Gray, a better, in Texas. He's a Paige Beckers fan. What do? They credit it to Caitlin Clark. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, just the vitriol and the hate that this girl faces now is disgusting, man. And I don't know how the WNBA has dropped the ball like this, but now you have Caitlin Clark being booed at intros in All-Star games. Just a fucking joke.
Now we reach the central image. Caitlin Clark being booed during an All-Star introduction. Crowds boo players for many reasons. Rivalries, team loyalties, and local emotions can explain it. One clip cannot prove the entire league has turned against her. Depending on the arena and the audience, some of the noise may have come from opposing fans who simply wanted to support someone else. But symbolism matters. Clark entered professional basketball as the player people paid to see. She was the attraction pulling casual viewers toward women's basketball. Hearing boos during a showcase event creates a completely different picture from the one the WNBA appeared to be selling at the start of her career. This is the effect the video introduces before explaining the cause. The boos did not emerge from nowhere. They are the result of months of framing Clark as a dividing line. Fans were encouraged to choose sides. Either defend Clark and be accused of disrespecting the league's history, or criticize Clark and be accused of resenting the person who expanded the audience. Every conversation became a loyalty test. That dynamic may generate engagement online, but it damages the product over time. New viewers do not want to study years of personal resentment before enjoying a basketball game. They want stars, competition, rivalries, and stakes they can understand. Instead, the league allowed Clark's presence to become a moral argument. Once that happens, booing is no longer just sports behavior. It becomes a public declaration of which side someone believes they are on.
Yo, shout out to everybody out there. Welcome to Indie Fan Sports. Subscribe to the channel with the content. Wow. So I just finished watching the 2026 WNBA All-Star game, man. I gotta be honest with you, man. I'm kind of surprised because last year's All-Star game was terrible. All right, the players were too worried about wearing pace what you always shirts than to actually play a game. They were all just shooting from deep. Wasn't nobody playing no defense. It was like a waste of time. And I would have thought they would have learned, and they didn't. You know what I mean?
They didn't.
I mean, only a couple of people really act like they wanted to play tonight.
Then the video pivots from the treatment of Clark to the quality of the All-Star game itself. And this angle matters more than it may first appear. The commentator says the previous All-Star game was disappointing and expected the players to learn from it. He then argues that only a few people appeared interested in competing. All-Star exhibitions are rarely played with playoff intensity. Players are understandably cautious because an injury in a meaningless showcase can damage a season, a contract, or a championship opportunity. That context deserves to be acknowledged. But entertainment is still the obligation. Nobody expects 40 minutes of full defensive pressure. Fans do expect effort, creativity, personality, and enough competition to justify the event. A successful All-Star game finds a balance. Players can have fun while still producing memorable possessions. They can attempt spectacular passes, deep shots, and playful one-on-one matchups without making the entire event look careless. When an exhibition loses all competitive tension, the audience begins asking why it exists. That question becomes especially damaging for a league fighting for long-term attention and credibility.
And I get it. You're worried about making the playoffs. It's the second half of this season. You're worried about getting hurt. You're trying to win a championship. You're not looking at it like, okay, this all-star game makes or breaks us. But at the end of the day, coming from a fan perspective, the tickets are at least $400 a pop. People are basing their entire weekend around the all-star game. So they're getting a ticket, that's $400. They're flying in, they're getting hotels, they're partying. You're looking at like a potential anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000 for the.
This is where the money changes the conversation. The speaker estimates that tickets cost around $400 and that fans may spend between $1,000 and $2,000 for the weekend. His later estimate climbs even higher after hotels, flights, transportation, and food are included. Those numbers will vary by city and traveler, but his larger point is difficult to dismiss. Attending a major sporting event is expensive. A fan may save for months, take time away from work, book a flight, pay inflated hotel rates, and organize an entire weekend around a few hours inside the arena. That fan is not purchasing a guaranteed classic. Sports never promise perfect entertainment, but the fan is purchasing an honest attempt to deliver a show. When athletes visibly treat the event as disposable, the audience feels taken for granted. That feeling becomes more intense when the league simultaneously asks for higher investment, larger media deals, stronger salaries, and greater cultural respect. You cannot demand premium treatment while presenting a product that looks optional to the people performing in it. Respect is reciprocal. Players deserve professional resources and fair compensation. Fans deserve to feel that their time and money matter. This is also why Clark's absence or reduced role becomes financially significant. Whether people like it or not, she attracts viewers who might otherwise skip the event. If the league wants to prove it has become bigger than one player, the answer is not resentment. The answer is producing a show compelling enough that the audience stays regardless of who is available.
Weekend, you can at least.
And that's low. You gotta think them hotels for the weekend, bro. A decent hotel in downtown Chicago for the weekend, especially something like this, gonna run you at least $1,000. I say $1,000. You're gonna be paying $1,000 total for two. That's just for 2 days. You know what I'm saying? That's if you just did Friday, Saturday. That's gonna be $1,000. Your flight probably round trip flight $500. Your ticket $400. You at $2,000 and you haven't even bought nothing to eat yet. You haven't bought no food. You ain't got an Uber. You ain't done none of that. You looking to be you over $3,000.
The breakdown of expenses makes the disappointment personal. A hotel can cost around $1,000 for a short weekend. A round-trip flight may cost hundreds more. Add a $400 ticket, meals, rides, and merchandise, and the total can approach or exceed $3,000. For a family, that number can rise dramatically. Now imagine spending that money and watching players casually launch shots from extreme distance with no defender nearby, throw away possessions, and laugh through mistakes that would be unacceptable in any meaningful game. Fun is not the problem. Lack of purpose is the problem. The NBA has struggled with the same issue. Other leagues have experimented with new formats, target scores, skills competitions, and different incentives because traditional all-star games often lose urgency. The WNBA is not uniquely responsible for this trend, but the WNBA has less room for error. It is still converting new curiosity into long-term loyalty. Every national showcase is an opportunity to prove that the audience should return next week, buy another ticket, and follow the season beyond the biggest headline. A week showcase does the opposite. It tells the casual viewer that the surrounding drama may be more intense than the basketball itself.
Here, because I know it's not just me who thinks this is weird. I want you guys to pay attention.
Stewart tips it alive. Williams from 4.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Like, what are you doing? Look. Look at where she shot from. Nobody's even on her. What are you doing, Gabby Williams?
Stewart tips it alive. Williams from 4-point range.
This possession captures the frustration perfectly. The player launches from what the commentator calls 4-point range, while nobody is pressuring her. A spectacular make might have turned the moment into a highlight. Instead, the miss becomes evidence for critics who already believe the event lacks seriousness. Risky attempts belong in an exhibition. The best all-star moments often come from players trying things they would never attempt during the regular season. But creativity only works when the audience believes the players care, whether the idea succeeds. There is a visible difference between showmanship and indifference. Showmanship says, "Watch what I can do." Indifference says, "None of this matters." Once the audience senses the second message, every mistake becomes irritating. A missed deep shot is no longer ambitious. It looks lazy. A playful possession is no longer entertaining. It looks disrespectful. That is why event design matters. The league should not simply gather famous players and hope competition appears. It needs incentives, team identity, and a format that creates pressure naturally. Give the players something meaningful to win. Connect the result to charity, conference pride, home court benefits, or another reward that can be explained clearly. Build captains, rivalries, and matchups before the game. Make viewers understand why each side wants the result. Competition cannot be forced through criticism alone. It has to be designed into the event.
No, she didn't. Look, let's look again.
Point range.
Ty Young almost subbed him in when we were down by 11.
She airballed, like.
She drew that up. She knew who she wanted to pass it.
Look at him.
Oh my God. You got all the eyes on y'all, and this is what y'all do at the All-Star.
She knew who she wanted to pass it. Oh.
You would have thought she was trying to alley it to somebody or something. Like what was that? What was that?
This airborne pass is another moment where execution and intention seem disconnected. The commentator initially wonders whether the player attempted a dunk or an alley-oop before realizing she was trying to pass. His confusion becomes the entire problem. The audience should be amazed by an ambitious play, not confused about whether the players themselves knew what they were doing. Again, one bad possession does not define a game. Even elite players make ugly decisions. But showcase events are judged through memorable snapshots, and this clip became the wrong kind of snapshot. The Wnba has spent years asking the public to judge women's basketball by its highest level. That is fair. The players are world-class athletes, and the league contains elite shooting, passing, defensive intelligence, and physical skill. When the biggest stage fails to display those qualities, critics use it as ammunition against the entire sport. That reaction may be unfair, but it is predictable. This is why the players and league cannot dismiss criticism by saying the game was only for fun. Fun is still a product. Comedy requires timing. A concert requires performance. An exhibition requires spectacle. The audience does not need playoff defense. It needs something worth remembering.
Yo.
Donquel up to 10 points. Howard.
He's pissed. Angry fan is pissed.
Oh boy, the All-Star game is supposed to be the best of the best for this first half of the season. Hey, let's be all the way real here. This is what y'all displaying, and then you wonder why people weren't paying attention to women's basketball. Shout out to Dominique Malanga. She definitely had a dunk today.
10 points.
The commentator's anger reaches its peak when he asks why people should pay attention to women's basketball after watching possessions like these. That conclusion is too broad. One disappointing exhibition does not erase the quality of the regular season, the skill of the players, or the progress of the sport. However, it reveals the stakes. New audiences often judge unfamiliar leagues from a small sample. A longtime fan can separate a weak all-star game from the normal standard of play. A casual viewer may not. The casual viewer sees a nationally promoted event featuring supposedly the best players in the league. If the game appears unserious, that viewer may assume the entire product is unserious. This is where Clark's role becomes relevant again. She brought in viewers who did not grow up following the Wnba. Those people arrived without deep loyalty. They can leave as quickly as they came. The league's challenge was never simply attracting attention. The challenge was retaining it. Instead of making the product accessible, the conversation often became hostile toward newcomers. Some longtime supporters acted as though new fans needed to pass a history test before expressing an opinion. Some Clark fans responded by insulting every player who existed before her. Both extremes made the community exhausting. A healthy league would use Clark as the entry point and then introduce the audience to Wilson, Breanna Stewart, Nafisa Collier, Sabrina Ionescu, Angel Reese, Paige Bueckers, Olivia Miles, and the rest of the talent. The goal should be expansion, not replacement. Clark's rise does not require pretending nobody mattered before her. Celebrating established stars does not require treating Clark's impact like an inconvenience.
Clark with steal on Angel Reese.
Do you see how she's walking the ball up the court? No one's playing defense.
Asia Wilson getting the ball.
Asia Wilson blocks Angel Reese without even trying. Like,
and then saying, hey, I wasn't even trying to there. Angel Wilson and Angel Reese hugging, laughing about it. Oh!
And I know what y'all are going to say. Oh, it's the All-Star game. They're having fun. Give them a break. No. Would you pay $400 to watch this? Would you?
Now watch the sequence involving Angel Reese and Anjaya Wilson. The commentator sees Reese walking the ball up. Little defense being played and Wilson blocking her without appearing to exert much effort. Then the two players laugh. From their perspective, it may have been a harmless all-star interaction between competitors enjoying the moment. That interpretation is reasonable. From the paying fans' perspective, it can look like the game has become a private joke. That interpretation is also reasonable. Both things can be true. The players can genuinely enjoy themselves while the audience genuinely feels underserved. The mistake is telling fans that their disappointment is invalid because the athletes were having fun. Professional entertainment depends on the connection between performer and audience. When that connection breaks, intent does not erase the result. Reese is one of the league's most visible personalities. Wilson is one of its most accomplished players. When they share the floor, the league should be creating a moment that fans replay because of the skill, competition, or personality involved. Laughter can enhance that moment. It cannot be the only payoff. Imagine the same exchange after a serious one-on-one possession, a difficult block, or a clever response at the other end. The laughter would feel earned because it would follow competition. Without that competition, critics see two.
And now Angel goes down. Oh no, Angel goes down now. And Angel Wilson has to pick her up.
Malanga Young can't flip it in. Malanga.
Bro, come on, man. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Like, I don't know what they expect the All-Star game is supposed to look like, but it damn sure ain't supposed to look like that.
The sequence continues with Reese going down and Wilson helping her up. That gesture shows sportsmanship, but the surrounding play still leaves the commentator asking what the All-Star game is supposed to look like. That question leads directly to the deeper answer promised earlier. Caitlin Clark is not becoming a villain because of one crowd, one veteran, or one introduction. She is becoming a villain because the league's entire conversation has been structured around conflict. Clark's popularity created winners and losers before she ever controlled the outcome. Television networks gained a larger audience. Teams moved games into bigger arenas. Players received more attention. Brands saw new commercial opportunities. Reporters gained a permanent source of engagement. But the attention was distributed unevenly. Clark received endorsements, headlines, and scrutiny at a scale that established stars had spent years trying to achieve. Some fans interpreted any discomfort with that imbalance as jealousy. Some critics interpreted any praise of Clark as disrespect toward everyone else. That created resentment in both directions. The league failed to establish a unifying message. It could have said that Clark's arrival was the result of decades of work by previous generations, and that her popularity was an opportunity to elevate the entire sport. It could have repeatedly placed stars together, built compelling basketball narratives, and discouraged personal hostility. Instead, the loudest narratives became Clark versus Reese, Clark versus Wilson, Clark versus the media, Clark's fans versus the league, and longtime supporters versus newcomers. Villains are created when audiences are trained to see every event as evidence in an existing conflict. A normal compliment for Olivia Miles becomes proof that Wilson dislikes Clark. A boo becomes proof that fans have turned. A bad all-star possession becomes proof the league cannot survive without Clark. Each individual conclusion may be overstated, but the pattern is real. Everything is interpreted through division. That is the actual crisis.
He's 100% right. Angry Fan is 100% right. Shout out to my bro Angry Fan Sports. His channel is right here. Go subscribe to Angry Fan Sports. Yo, that was pathetic. The display they put on, it was absolutely pathetic. I'm with Angry Fan Sports 100%. That was some BS that we just saw. Straight up. That was really, really, really bad. You got Caitlin Clark getting booed in the intros now. The league has done everything they can to mess this up. You got A'ja Wilson heaping praise on Olivia Miles that she would never heap on the Caitlin Clark. While Caitlin Clark was breaking, 62 records as a rookie, A'ja Wilson never wanted to say nothing like
The final commentary calls the display pathetic, returns to the boos, and again contrasts Wilson's praise of Miles with the response Clark received during her rookie season. The emotional conclusion is clear, but the constructive response cannot simply be demanding that every player praise Clark. Forced compliments would solve nothing. Fans would recognize them as public relations. Clark does not need ceremonial approval from every veteran. What she needs is a league capable of protecting the integrity of its product. That means consistent standards for physical play, transparent communication, stronger event design, and a media strategy that does not depend entirely on personal conflict. Wilson should be free to praise Olivia Miles without being accused automatically of attacking Clark. Miles should be allowed to become a star without being treated as a weapon in somebody else's rivalry. Clark should be evaluated for her own words and actions rather than the worst behavior of strangers online. And the fans paying hundreds or thousands of dollars deserve an all-star event that feels worthy of the cost. The WNBA now faces a choice. It can continue benefiting from outrage while every star becomes a symbol in a larger culture war. That approach may produce clicks, arguments, and short-term attention, or it can build an actual sports ecosystem where rivalries come from meaningful games, personalities can coexist, and new viewers are encouraged to discover more than one player. Clark being booed does not prove her popularity has disappeared. Popular athletes are often booed precisely because they matter. The danger is not the sound itself. The danger is the environment that taught people to treat her presence as a political position rather than a basketball story. The league wanted attention, and it received more attention than it knew how to manage. Now it must decide what kind of audience it wants to keep. So where do you stand? Is Caitlin Clark genuinely becoming the WNBA's villain, or has the league manufactured a divide that is now damaging everyone involved?